What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick and Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media on Patriots Press Pass, Patriots Daily Special Edition, where we take a look at Patriots defensive tackle Davon Godchaux, his apparent hold-in that's been going on in the preseason with him, his cryptic tweet last night about where his contract stands at, and what the Patriots should do moving forward with him and the defensive tackle room. Before we get into it, a reminder, we are powered by Prize Picks and Game Time. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy app. And if you head there now, you can use code CLNS for a first deposit match bonus up to $100. And Game Time, #1 ticketing app. Head there, $20 off your first purchase with code CLNS. Go down to Fenway, head to you know what you can do? You can go to Fenway, use Game Time, get some tickets, then hop on Prize Picks and maybe have a little fun with some of the Red Sox players in there. So even though basketball and hockey is over with, you can still have fun with Prize Picks and Game Time with the Red Sox during the baseball season. All right, Taylor, let's get into it because, like I said, Godchaux, a defensive tackle who held sort of a hold-in, as what you would call it, down in Foxboro during the offseason program. Godchaux is headed into the final year of a 2-year, $20 million extension. He signed in 2022 after originally signing on a 2-year, $15 million contract in 2021 when they went on that huge spree. So kind of looking for another pay bump here. It's worth noting that he has no guaranteed money, so he may just be looking for a little bit of a bump in guarantees, what have you. The Patriots have been a team this offseason that has rewarded their own and has rewarded their hard workers, guys who they brought in, whether it be draft picks, whether it be guys who, again, they signed in that 2021 spree and have done well, like your Bournes and your Henrys, and then they've rewarded them with extensions. Godchaux still waiting on it, and again, clearly a guy who's looking for it because not only did he hold in the offseason program, but last night took to Twitter when asked about his contract status and tweeted the following: "Hopefully we can get something done that's fair to me and my team before camp starts. I love New England. I would love to retire here, but it has to make sense for us. What I do on the football field, in the trenches, most of the time doesn't show on the stat sheet, but turn on the film and you will see it if you know ball. Would love to finish my career here in New England, but it has to make sense to me and my team." There's the tweet right there, if you didn't see it.
You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. With the NBA Finals over, the hoops action doesn't stop on Prize Picks. Women's basketball is just heating up, with stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves, alongside greats like Breanna Stewart and Asia Wilson. You can earn up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. I made my first $10 deposit and received an instant $10 bonus. If you have the skills, you can play for a shot at turning your $10 into $1,000. I've got Caitlin Clark for more than 3.5 3-points made and Breanna Stewart for more than 23 points. For baseball, I've got Kyle Schwarber for more than 9-hitter fantasy score and Bryce Miller for more than 4 pitcher strikeouts. Download the app today and use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
So again, Godchaux seemingly unhappy with his contract and looking for a pay bump. So Taylor, let's get right into it. What do you make of this drama? I know you don't like drama, so we won't use the word drama, but it's kind of a bump in the road for Godchaux and his camp and him with the Patriots moving on into 2024.
I mean, it makes sense. When you play nose tackle, that is one of the most physical positions in the football. There's always the chance of injury. So I'd understand for a guy who's 30 years old, would want some guarantees and to know that he's going to make money just in case he does get injured. You'd think the Patriots would take care of him even if something happened, but this is the business. You truly never know. And like you mentioned, the Patriots are trying to reward the people who have done well for them and who they think are foundational pieces for this team. Now, of course, that's going to open the floodgates. Gerard Mayo acknowledged that now there's a lot of people who want new deals. Right. That said, and what Davon Godchaux has done is very valuable. He's been one of the best run-stopping interior defensive linemen in the NFL. When he got the extension a couple years back, Bill Belichick actually did say that he was one of the best defensive tackles in the league. So his value is there. He's right. If you look at stats, they don't really jump out. Like if you look at specifically run defense, he has tackles and things like that. But for a nose, it's hard to really quantify that with pure numbers because there's the fact that sometimes teams won't want to run at you because they know, hey, if we're going to run inside zone or duo with no intention to bounce it or anything like that, we're going to be in trouble because this guy's going to hold his ground. and he's going to make the tackle. So he's absolutely right. Not really a position that's easy to quantify. That said, you can't give everybody more money. Now, we don't know if he wants an extension necessarily. He said he wants to retire here. So you'd think there is some desire to have a longer contract. And obviously, again, the guarantees. Maybe they can find some kind of middle ground where that works out. But we have to look back at the Lawrence Guy situation where the team decided to move on from him. He was projected to have a robust market. He's still on the street. So that felt like, especially when they replaced him seemingly with Armon Watts, who is a bit smaller than Lawrence Guy, not quite as stout as a run defender. Lawrence Guy is one of the best run defenders in football. He's an absolute monster, but he gave you almost nothing when it came to pass rush other than just condensing the pocket. Now, Armon Watts can get you pressure much more consistently than Guy could, although there is a bit of a drop-off in run defense. I think he's still fine there. It's not a weakness or anything, but he's not LG. Right. Looking at that and maybe what this team might be leaning towards, like they've been saying they want to have a better pass rush situation, create more turnovers, all that good stuff. You look at Godchaux and you say, okay, this is a guy who nose tackles, usually they're run first players, but you have plenty of nose tackles who also contribute as pass rushers. Davon Godchaux doesn't, even though he does play the majority of downs. Like if you look at snap counts, he's absolutely a starter. He's not just a role player, but there's guys on the roster who I think could slip into that role. Again, Godchaux would be a loss. He's kind of their monster in the middle, one of their bigger guys. I think he's about like 320 pounds. Guys like Daniel Ekuale and Jeremiah Farms, more like 300, 310. Yeah. Not giving you that same stout presence in the middle. But if you're looking for more pass rush and you're willing to kind of take a step back on run defense, remember, this was a Pats run defense that was one of the best run stopping units in the NFL over the past decade. I think it was since 2014 they had the fewest yards allowed. That can't always be the metric you go on, but when you looked at all the metrics, it was pretty clear they were a fantastic run defense. If you're willing to go from number 1, number 2, it's maybe 10th or 12th, maybe even 15th. In this league, you can get by with a pretty average run defense as long as you're not getting gashed. But the interior pass rush outside of Christian Barmore was an issue. Also, Christian Barmore, a guy who plays plenty of nose tackle in his own right. So looking at the other options,
a guy who I want to cut you off there, a guy who plays plenty of nose tackle in his own right, and like you said, as far as being a pass rusher, 12 and a half sacks for Barmore over the last 3 seasons, 2.5 for Godchaux. That's, I mean, again, it's one quick and easy stat, but that just shows, the kind of effect they have in the pass rush. In terms of the run stopping.
No, 100%. So, Christian Barmore at the top of that list. I think you want him more as a defensive tackle more than a nose tackle, but he plays both. So then you look at what the other options would be. First one that comes to mind is Daniel Ekuale. Was hurt last season, but he's a guy who I don't think gets enough credit. People think he's just an interior pass rusher because he's undersized. I think he's also a good run defender for a guy who is his size. Now, there were times like against Miami where he is getting pushed around against double teams. Not ideal, but if you get him some one-on-one matchups, I think he's a guy who can make tackles for you, who will hold his ground. He can be stout against double teams. It's just not really his game. But again, he also gives you something in the pass rush department. He's more well-rounded. Right. Then they also have Jeremiah Farms, who I think is really the one who kind of sets off alarm bells if the Patriots and Davon Godchaux don't find some kind of middle ground. He came on kind of towards the end of last season, really flew under the radar because he had Christian Barmore taking up a lot of attention. The pass rush wasn't very good, period. And with run defense, it's kind of hard if you're not Anthony Jennings or Jabril Peppers to gain a lot of attention. But he was a dynamic player, gave you some legitimate juice in the pass rush department, really active with his hands. He's more explosive than some of the other interior defenders that they have. And he's got some explosiveness, which you don't get from a Davon Godchaux. Again, he is about 300 pounds, doesn't give you a ton of size, but he holds his ground well. You didn't see a lot of lowlights from Jeremiah Farms, and he started to play more and more, which Marcus Covington said was a reflection of how he played in practice and what he was putting on the tape. So I think Godchaux is a valuable player. I hope they find a middle ground. I think he's a really well-respected and coveted player, especially in the locker room, but specifically at the heart of that run defense. But between Ekuale and Jeremiah Farms, I think they have, a solid 1-2 punch there if they were looking to replace some of Davon Godchaux's snaps.
Nothing says summer quite like a live baseball game. And whenever I want to check out a Red Sox game at Fenway, I'm using Game Time, the best place for last-minute deals on tickets. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. With Game Time, it's as easy as finding the game you want to attend, getting a view of the entire stadium to see what prices look like in different areas, and they actually do you a favor and show you both the cheapest tickets available and the best deals. You can also get the view from the seat that you pick, and between their lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection, there's really no better option than Game Time. And with Game Time's lowest price guarantee, the app will actually credit you 110% of the difference if you find a cheaper ticket elsewhere. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
I'm totally with you, and looking at the room as a whole as well. Like, now, granted, defensive tackle versus nose tackle, kind of your roles on the team can kind of switch up and things like that. But they've already shelled out all this money to Barmore, and now somebody else in the same room is kind of looking for the same type of thing, where you have Barmore locked down, and you can go to guys like you mentioned, Aquale and Farms, to kind of pick up the slack. Where if you're missing that on the run defense, if Godchaux leaves, that can kind of pick that up. The other thing I'll note is that this is a team that we've talked about is sort of getting ready for 2025, right? Like they're not really trying to win now. They're not trying to lose. They're not trying to tank, but this is a forward-looking franchise. And the oldest guy in that room is Aquale at 30. The next two is Dietrich Wise and Godchaux at 29. The rest of them, Barmore, Tristan Hill, Farms, Armand Watts, Sam, like all those guys, Keon White, they're all 27 or younger. They want to build this thing and try and get younger. So if they can't come to a middle ground with Godchaux, I don't think they're going to necessarily shell out a huge chunk of change for him to get him to stay. Even if it's, again, the middle ground might be something that Mike Giardi wrote about, which we're going to get to another thing he said in a second, where you just guarantee him the money on his contract this year and call it like that. Don't extend him. Don't pay him off into 25, 26, etc. Just let him stay on the team and give him his money up front. So we'll see what happens there. But I do want to note, too, from Mike Giardi, again, from Boston Sports Journal, he wrote the other day that the Patriots reached out to another well-paid defensive tackle back in March during free agency. And he notes, was it foreshadowing their feelings on Godchaux's play and personality? ? Either way, it's a situation that bears monitoring. So it does bear monitoring. It's here. They did reach out to a defensive tackle in free agency. So maybe they were foreshadowing what they wanted to do with Godchaux. They might not want to give him the extension. They might want to pay him, etc. So let's take a look at sort of where Godchaux lines up as far as money right now, and what an extension could look like, or something along those lines with the other guys in the defensive tackle realm.
Yeah. So first, just from a Patriots perspective, so we understand how much Barmore is actually making and how much he counts specifically against the cap. He is one of the higher players in that pecking order. It's Matt Judon at the top, Jonathan Jones underneath him, two guys who you expect to play pretty much every down for you, and then Davon Godchaux is third, which is a lot for a nose tackle who really only gives you an impact in the run defense. Again, he does play enough snaps that he is clearly a starter, but he's not a guy that you want on the field on third downs or obvious pass situations. And then look at guys under him, Michael Onwenu, obviously every down player who can be elite as a run defender and pass protector if used the right way. Then Juju Smith-Schuster, we all know that was a mistake. So, yeah, that number, $11.8 million against the cap. His money isn't guaranteed. Again, they could cut him and all those things would change, but it is significant that he's making so much money or counts so much against the cap, considering he's really more of a role player who still does play starting number of snaps. And looking at the position, now a couple guys who did go to other teams, DJ Reader, around the same age, also making around the same money. He's making $11 million. Godchaux's making $10.4 million. And then Sheldon Rankins, who Mark Daniels actually, connected the Patriots and Rankins. He's making $12.25, but he's also more of a three technique, not really a nose tackle, but he's more of a pass rusher. So I think if you're looking at, Davon Godchaux, if he doesn't just want guarantees but wants a pay bump, you'd probably be looking at more like Grover Stewart up here. He's making $13 million. I don't know.
That's a lot of dough, Taylor. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and again, like we said, people are getting paid on this team, but you have to draw the line somewhere. And I think a guy who is only a run defender on a team that wants to improve their pass rush, is probably a liability, or a guy who could potentially be the line where they say, hey, we have to stop somewhere. It's going to be right here. Again, the guarantees are one thing, but I just don't really think he's got a leg to stand on, because these guys, Grover Stewart is older, but he's a really good player. He's a little more pass rush than I'd say you get from Godchaux. So yeah, just looking at the age of these players and the amount of money they're making, I think Godchaux is in the range that he should be at. But really, I think the most realistic thing would just say, hey, we're going to fully guarantee your contract. They have the cap space, and then maybe see what happens after this season.
Yeah, totally. We shall see what happens there, Taylor. Again, Davon Godchaux looking for what could be a pay bump, what could be an extension, held out this spring, heading into summer. Tweets last night that they're looking to get something done. We have just under a month until training camp starts. We got those dates today, starting up on July 25th, I believe.
So yeah.
All those, I will add, all those open to the public so fans can go at their leisure. Those, I tweeted those out earlier. You can also find it on Patriots.com. So we'll see what happens with Godchaux. Again, they have about a month to kind of get it done. Maybe, hopefully, they don't leak it into training camp. But definitely a situation to monitor as, again, defensive tackle Davon Godchaux looks for a pay bump and may look for a contract extension.
Also, that's where we got the numbers. I should have said
that. Yeah. All those numbers, of course. Yeah, from our friends over at OTC Over the Cap. Again, a reminder, we are powered by Prize Picks and Game Time. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy app. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match bonus up to $100. And Game Time. Head over Game Time and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase on tickets. Again, thanks for watching. Tune in. Keep it here at Patriots Daily, Patriots Press Pass for all of your Patriots news and coverage as the days continue on heading into training camp. Until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.